The Dead Sea Scrolls, the oldest biblical texts ever found. It began with a sound, the faint clatter of a stone thrown by a shepherd boy, echoing through a desert cave. The year was 1947, and in the barren hills above the Dead Sea, a Bedouin youth named Muhammad ed-Dibin stumbled upon one of the greatest archaeological discoveries of the 20th century. Inside a dark limestone cave, hidden in tall clay jars, were scrolls, fragile, ancient, and wrapped in linen. They would come to be known as the Dead Sea Scrolls, the oldest surviving texts of the Bible, and the bridge between history, faith, and mystery. For centuries, scholars had believed that the oldest biblical manuscripts dated no earlier than the 10th century AD. But these scrolls, written on parchment and papyrus, were more than 1,000 years older, some dating back to the 3rd century BC. Their discovery changed everything we thought we knew about the origins of Judaism, Christianity, and the ancient world that shaped them. The story of the scrolls begins in the harsh wilderness of Qumran, near the Dead Sea, the lowest place on Earth. The region is desolate, windswept, and silent, its cliffs riddled with caves carved by nature over millennia. Yet in antiquity, it was home to a small, devout community of Jews who withdrew from Jerusalem to live a life of purity, prayer, and study. Many scholars believe they were members of a sect known as the Essenes, a group that rejected corruption in the temple and awaited the coming of a Messiah. Here, amid the dust and solitude, they preserved their sacred writings, scrolls that would outlast empires. The first scrolls discovered in 1947 contained fragments of Isaiah, Habakkuk, and community rules, written in Hebrew and Aramaic. Their script was ancient but clear, their message timeless. When scholars examined them, they realized they were holding something unprecedented, biblical texts written 1,000 years before any other surviving copies. Soon, archaeologists and Bedouin tribes began combing the surrounding cliffs. Between 1947 and 1956, 11 caves yielded over 900 manuscripts. A vast library of scrolls containing nearly every book of the Hebrew Bible, along with hymns, prayers, legal texts, and previously unknown writings. Among them were the War Scroll, describing a final battle between the sons of light and the sons of darkness. The Thanksgiving hymns, songs of praise echoing through time, and the Copper Scroll, a unique text engraved on metal, listing buried treasures whose location remains unknown to this day. For the first time, scholars could see how the Bible evolved through centuries of copying and interpretation. The Dead Sea Scrolls showed that the text of the Hebrew Bible had remained remarkably stable. The words of Isaiah, nearly identical to those we read today, but they also revealed diversity, variant readings, alternate versions, and interpretations that shed light on the richness and complexity of early Judaism. These scrolls were not merely religious documents. They were windows into the beliefs, hopes, and fears of a people living under oppression, awaiting salvation. They spoke of ritual purity, communal living, prophecy, and apocalyptic visions. They told us what life was like on the margins of empire, in the shadow of Rome and Herod, as new movements began to stir in the ancient Near East. The Qumran settlement itself lies just a few hundred meters from the caves. Excavations uncovered communal halls, pottery kilns, water cisterns, and ritual baths, all consistent with the religious order. Scroll fragments were found in nearby rooms, suggesting that scribes worked and stored manuscripts there. Archaeologists even uncovered inkwells, the first ever found in Israel, proving that this was not just a hiding place, but a center of learning. The scrolls were likely hidden around 68 AD, when Roman legions advanced during the Jewish revolt. As Jerusalem burned, the scribes of Qumran may have sealed their sacred library inside the caves, never to return. For nearly 2 millennia, wind and sand guarded their secret. When the scrolls reached Jerusalem, they caused a sensation. Scholars, clergy, and governments all sought to control them. Some were sold in bazaars, others smuggled to antiquities dealers. A classified advertisement even appeared in the Wall Street Journal in 1954. Biblical manuscripts dating back to at least 200 BC for sale, an ideal gift to an educational or religious institution. Eventually, most of the scrolls came under the care of the Israel Antiquities Authority, where painstaking conservation began. Each fragment, some no larger than a fingernail, was carefully photographed, translated, and pieced together like a jigsaw puzzle of history. The impact of the discovery was seismic. For biblical scholars, it confirmed the antiquity of Scripture. For historians, it illuminated the diversity of Jewish thought before the rise of Christianity. And for believers, it offered tangible proof that the texts that shaped faith for millennia had endured nearly unchanged. But it also sparked controversy. Some fragments suggested new interpretations of prophecy and messianic expectation, leading some to speculate about early Christian connections. Others claimed that the scrolls had been deliberately withheld from publication to avoid theological upheaval. The truth, however, was far more human. The sheer difficulty of restoring, reading, and translating thousands of fragments delayed progress for decades. By the 1990s, the Dead Sea Scrolls had been fully photographed and made available to scholars worldwide. Modern technology has since transformed their study. Infrared imaging and multispectral scans reveal faded ink invisible to the naked eye. DNA analysis of parchment identifies which fragments came from the same animal hide, allowing researchers to reassemble scrolls that had been split apart long ago. Artificial intelligence now helps match fragments based on handwriting patterns. Piece by piece, the ancient library continues to come back to life. So what do the scrolls tell us? They reveal a society on the edge of transformation. They speak of law and purity, of a coming war between good and evil, of a teacher of righteousness who would guide his people. They show us how faith was lived in a world of occupation and hope, a bridge between ancient Judaism and the dawn of Christianity. And beyond theology, they show us something more universal, that even in times of fear and collapse, people write, they record, they preserve, because words can outlast the world itself. Today, the Dead Sea Scrolls are housed in the Shrine of the Book, a stunning white-domed museum in Jerusalem. Its design evokes the lids of the ancient jars in which the scrolls were found. Inside, under dim light, the parchment of Isaiah stretches in a circular display, the oldest nearly complete biblical book in existence. Visitors walk in silence, aware that they are standing before words written 2,000 years ago by human hands. Each letter, brushstroke, and flaw tells a story of survival, not just of faith, but of the human impulse to leave something behind. The desert where the scrolls were found remains eerily still. The caves of Qumran sit under an unbroken sky, the wind whispering through their openings. The shepherd boy who threw that stone could never have imagined what he had uncovered, the thoughts, prayers, and dreams of a civilization speaking across the ages. The Dead Sea Scrolls remind us that history is never truly buried. Even in the loneliest places on earth, voices wait to be heard, written in ink, sealed in jars, carried by silence, and finally returned to the world. If you're fascinated by the past and the way it still shapes our world today, you're in the right place. Subscribe, comment, share, and join us again on Human Odyssey Through Time, where history's most haunting mysteries, places, and people are brought back to life. And if you'd like to help us keep telling these stories, consider supporting us on patreon.com/Human Odyssey Through Time 2025. Your support helps bring forgotten history to light, one story at a time.